needs to be an on-air story. Love that.
Our friend is ready. Max Muncy of the LA Dodgers joining us right now. Max, how's it going? And is any of what we said true with Utley mad at his food and the Dodgers all ditching dairy at one point? I think it was like 4 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was 2019. And yeah, Chase was the one who kind of started the majority of that. He came over and he got a bunch of guys to buy in on how it makes your body feel and everything like that. And so probably half the team was doing it.
How'd that go?
I mean, it went pretty well, I think. I think most guys got off of it when 20 happened, and we had, the food situation for that COVID season was not ideal if you were doing that. So most people got off of it during then.
Did you have to wear gloves when you were eating in 2020? This came up the other day from your teammate, Lance Lynn.
No, we didn't. But you got like a box lunch, and you had to order it the night before. So before you went to bed, you had to go on, place your order, and it would show up, and it would just be this big box of like mush, pretty much. They did the best they could, but like you didn't get like separate boxes. So let's say you got chicken with potatoes and a vegetable, it would all just be like sitting on top of each other.
It would steam. It would steam itself. It would steam itself in the box. It was brutal.
They would make it. They'd make it off-site, ship it over, and if let's say you were a late show up guy, if you showed up too late, it would just be sitting there for hours. And so it wasn't the best situation for food, but at the same time, nothing was great with anything that happened that year. So
true. Wait, Max, besides the World Series,
besides that World Series thing that happened.
I'm talking about the rest of the country in terms of life. It was a rough year.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. By the way, every time I see JT, I thank him for giving me COVID at Game 6. So I really appreciate that. Thanks, JT. I saw him with the Red Sox this year. I'm like, hey, thanks for COVID at Game 6.
What did he say?
He just started laughing. He's like, dude, what are you talking about? But besides the point, I digress. Max, Gabe Kapler wasn't with the Dodgers when you came over, was he? He was already gone?
So when I came over here in 2017, he was the farm director.
See? Have you ever heard the stories about him and his food?
The most common one is he would get like a cheeseburger, take a bite of it to get the flavor, and then spit it out.
He would do that with ice cream. He'd take ice cream, put it in his mouth, and then he'd spit it into a water bottle and say Gabe's body likes the taste of ice cream, but Gabe's body can't handle ice cream.
Did he say it jokingly or dead serious?
He'd be sitting there and he would take a bite of ice cream, and then
I'm saying the third person talk.
No, he did not.
That was real?
No.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I had a lot of great interactions with Gabe. I actually really enjoyed him, but I do remember one time I had kind of just gotten over there, and I walk into the food room, and I heard these stories about how they'd cut out, like they were the healthiest eating team, and I walk in the food room, and it was like the most bland food I'd ever seen in my life, and every single person walked in, looked like, peeked their head around the corner, saw it, walked back out, and ordered food from like DoorDash or something. And Kapler walked in, and he sees it, and he goes, "Oh man, isn't this just the best food you've ever seen?" And just got this gigantic plate and walked off. And I was like, "All right, well, I guess that explains that."
I love Gabe, but I played with him. I played with him since like '96-ish, against him or with him, and he was the first guy. We're in Hawaii, and we get pizza after a game, and we had no money. Team would buy us pizzas, and everyone's like, take the cheese off the pizza. And we're like, what the fuck?
I'm surprised he even had.
We're like, can we have the cheese? Like, can you give us your cheese?
I'm surprised he even had the bread. Honestly,
well, it was either nothing, bread or nothing.
True.
I mean,
right, so anyway,
there's a reason the guy looks how he looks, and that's why.
True. All right, so let's get to the stuff that you're probably not pleased about. Season ends the way you didn't want it to. What are your thoughts now that you have a week to digest what went down? Are there regrets? What was, said at the end there? I'm actually surprised. I know some teams, the guys pack up and they go home. And actually some of the guys, because we've spoken to a couple that have been bounced from the playoffs recently that said like, no, say with the Blue Jays, like Brandon Belt stood up in the locker room and spoke and said, this could be it for me. And so how did it all go down there?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been a part of too many postseason losses like that. And Doc does a great job. He comes in, he has, he gives a speech to everybody, and It's never fun. It's never good. It's not really, good to listen to, but Doc does as good a job as you can do with it. He kind of opens up the floor and he says, if anyone's got anything to say, you can open it up. And, Jason Hayward this year, he kind of jumped up and, he was super thankful of all of us and of the front office for assembling the team and all that kind of stuff. And just classic Jason Hayward. And every year there's always a guy that speaks out like that. And it's a very somber situation. My thing is I like to get everyone a bunch of beers, and it's you don't really need to say anything. It sucks. The season's over. It didn't end how you wanted it to. There's only one team that wins that last game, and you want to be it. And when you're not it, it's kind of a terrible feeling. So I don't feel like too much needs to be said for me. I try to hand out as many beers as I can hand out. It sucks.
Yeah, delivery boy. I love that. That brings everybody's spirits up. All right, how many postseasons have you been to in a row now?
Well, this is my first one was 18. So whatever, the 7 is that 7?
7 in a row. You have one World Series. If I told you you couldn't make the postseason, but 2 times, but you'd have 2 World Series championships now, would you trade it?
Probably. The World Series is the whole reason you play the game. So if you're telling me I could have 2 World Series instead of 1, yeah, I would trade that in a heartbeat.
But the other years, nothing.
I see. I don't know. For me, I'm on these teams that are so great, and we have these great expectations, and we kind of just bomb out. So if you just kind of suck, I feel like that might be an easier way to go out than to have these great expectations and then suck when it counts. I don't know.
2 titles sounds awesome.
2 titles sounds better than 1.
Yeah, for sure.
For real. I mean, I'll give up other playoff experiences to get another one.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, no doubt.
I mean, actually, I'm super thankful and blessed to be able to play in the playoffs this many times. But yeah, I'd rather have the World Series.
You can't explain it to anybody that never has been in that situation. How when it hits you that the season's over. Like I can't explain it. You try to explain it to your family, even your family. I think when your kids. My kids were older. We lost in 14 in the LCS, and my kids were older, and they're like, "Wait, the season's over? Like we don't play tomorrow?" Because my kid was right. So you can't explain it. The finality of it. There's no other job in the world where you're playing every day, and then you wake up one day and it's over, and you're like, "Wait, what happened?" So it's one of the hardest things. And what you said about the emotions, like the emotions are so raw, and it takes you a while because then you, as a player, you sit there and you go, gosh, if I only would have done this, or I would have, and you just go over it in your mind like repeatedly. It's just the worst feeling in the world. I get it.
You start questioning everything. You question, did I get enough sleep? Did I eat the right thing the night before? Did I take too many swings in batting practice? You start questioning every single thing that you happened. But in reality, you're doing the same routine that you did all year. And for us, that got us 100 wins and a division title. So it should have been good enough. But when the postseason is such a it's so great because it doesn't matter what team you are, it just matters how you're playing. It doesn't matter who you are on paper. If you look at the Braves, I think everyone was thinking the Braves were unstoppable this year, and they kind of got handled pretty easily. And in reality, if there wasn't a couple mistakes, they would have gotten swept as well. So it's just there's not really any way of describing it other than that's what makes baseball so great is any team can really win when you just got to get to the postseason.
And you never think you're going to lose. You never think you're going to even I assume, and you can answer this better than me, going into Game 3 against the Diamondbacks, were you guys what was the mindset for you guys? Were you thinking, all right, well, we're just going to win this first game, and then we're going back home after we win Game 4?
Well, I mean, the mindset that you had to have was you only need to win one game. You can't worry about the games that had already happened. You can't worry about the games that are ahead of you. You just got to win that one game. That's all that matters. You go into that, you win the one game, but then on the bigger picture, you kind of look at it and you say, hey, these guys are most likely going to do a bullpen game today, right? They're going to have a starter, get them 2-3 innings maybe, and then they're going to go bullpen game. And that plays into us. We win this game, their bullpen's a little spent. They got to go back to back. That kind of worked in our favor a little bit, and then we get to go back home. You win, and it obviously that's not what happened. But the bigger picture, you look at that and you kind of get excited about it. But in reality, you just got to win that one game, and we couldn't do it.
Yep.
Do you think that something needs to change for an approach on how to enter the postseason, whether that's roster construction, strategy? I mean, you've been there for a while. Like you definitely have experienced this. You're speaking well to this now. Like, is there anything if obviously this isn't your job, but if it was handed to you, you have the keys and they're like, hey, what would you do differently? Because we dominate in the regular season, but we don't want to be labeled as like the 90s Braves where we only get one title out of this whole epic run.
Well, what's funny is we've tried to dig into this a bunch, especially from an offensive side. We've really dug into it about why things are so different for us in the postseason. And every year we look at the numbers, and there's 12 teams in the postseason now. Last year in terms of like chase rate outside the zone, we were like the first or the second best. And then the two teams that made the World Series were like the first and the second worst at chase rate. So, we start looking into that kind of stuff, and the teams offensively that are making it to the World Series, they're going up there and they're getting their swings off, whereas we're being too disciplined. And that's almost where it seems like, hey, we got to just flip the script and go up there and start hacking. But it's hard to get a team that when your whole thing is grind the pitcher out, get good pitches to hit, get on base. And we're extremely good at doing all of that. It's not like it just happens every once in a while. It's hard to get a team like that to not do that when the games count.
Is it,
Max,
no. Oh, sorry.
Max, are you at Dodger Stadium?
Yeah, I am. I went in this morning, got a workout in, getting my locker cleaned out to send all my stuff home. The usual end of the season stuff.
God, I was gonna say, man, you're grinding. If you're already working out, you're already back banging, watching your videotapes. That's impressive.
That's who you want.
I know, except I was the opposite, but that's fine.
No, we're in the weight room. We're not in the cage right now. You got to give the body a little bit of rest from the swing. You spend 8 months swinging, your obliques are really tired. You got to give just a little bit of rest. You can study film if you want, but you got to have a little bit of rest before you start swinging the bat again.
Makes sense. Did you guys obviously played Arizona, lost Arizona? Freddie and Mookie did not have a great series. Did you see anything different from the way Arizona pitched them, or was it just bad luck and bad timing?
Arizona definitely pitched differently. I can say that. Bad timing, probably. I don't necessarily know as much as bad luck. We hit a couple of balls hard, but we didn't really do a great job with that. So I can't really say bad luck. But game one, Merrill Kelly comes out throwing 96, 97 miles an hour, whereas our last 3-4 times we'd faced him, he was 91, 92. And he was dotting everything. His stuff was super sharp. And on top of that, he was throwing, 80% heater or whatever the number was. And that's definitely something that hadn't happened before. Now, again, that could be circumstance of just them having 7 runs right out of the gate, or that could have been on purpose, that was their game plan, knowing that they hadn't done that against us. So it's just, they definitely had a different pitching plan against us. And but I don't know if that was by design or just circumstance of the game. Hey, you got a big lead. We got to get some strikes in there, keep it rolling. Merrill Kelly was definitely throwing harder, and then Zach Gallen was Zach Gallen. There's nothing much to say about that.
He's the standard guy every time. How about did you go up to Clayton Kershaw and say anything after that outing, or did you see other guys go up to him and say anything?
I mean, you just kind of go up and tap him on the butt, and there's not really much you can say about that. It's he is who he is. He knows what happened, and he knows he's going to bounce back. But what am I going to say that's going to make him feel any better? I don't know.
I feel like there's some people that are like, oh, he's hurting so much, like this could be it. I feel like there's like no chance of that. I mean, you know him better, and you're not going to speak for him, but you're allowed to guess. I mean, don't you think that he's still coming back? I mean, yeah, sure, he had a bad playoff start. His stuff was down. His regular season numbers were in the mid-2s in his ERA. I think any team would trade for those stats for a regular season run like that.
Yeah, it's tough for me to speak on. I'll say this: if he feels like he can still go out there and compete, he's probably going to compete. If he feels like he can't get it done, then that might be it. But I don't know where he's feeling. I definitely feel like he can still get it done, and I know there's a lot of people out there that still feel like he can get it done. So that's obviously his decision to make.
What about now? It's time.
Yeah, we're going to ask you the hardest question you're going to have to answer. Have you thought about Shohei Ohtani being in your lineup next year?
No.
That's such a lie because it's kind of creeped in there a little bit. You're like, man, I might not hit fourth now. I might have to go to like 6 next year.
Yeah. Imagine how many fastballs you'll get at 6.
No, that thought will definitely creep in at some point. It hasn't gotten there yet. Still, it's still. I think it's because we're still in LA and we haven't gone back home yet. It's still kind of like, oh, the season's not really over, even though it is over. You guys know how it is when you get to that time of year, you're kind of like, oh man, and you're talking about with your kids. My daughter every day, she's like, hey, it's time for the ball game, and they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Daddy lost. We don't get to play anymore. So it's a tough time. So I feel like because we're still in LA, you don't really feel like that. But I know there'll come a time when it's like, all right, what's next year going to be like? Who's going to be there? And you'll definitely start thinking about Shohei at that point.
Will you be scoreboard watching like we talk about during the season when teams are in a playoff run? Are you going to be like locked in more than ever on news, rumors, the whole deal to see who's coming? I also think in general the Dodgers are going to make some moves this offseason, might need some pitching. Obviously, there's some guys that are free agents, whatever. But Shohei and anyone else, are you going to be like, yo, Rosenthal, what do you got?
No, when it happens, it happens. That's something that I can't control, and so if I can't control it, I'm not going to worry about it. If it does get to that point, I might just call Andrew directly and be like, "Hey, what's going on, man? What are we doing here?" It's
a good phone number to have. Call the GM president and be like, "Hey, Andrew, you need me to make a recruiting pitch or what? Because I speak Japanese. I can fly to Japan and talk to Shohei if you need me to." It's not a bad thing to have in your back pocket.
They did that though for the last Ohtani sweepstakes before we even knew that he was going to be this good in the big leagues. Teams did some pretty heavy recruiting pitches because nowadays I feel like you guys tell me it used to be more of a thing. There's a lot of guys I've spoken to who have said like free agent process sucks. A lot of teams call with the same offers and they tell me how many flaws I have. And it's like, actually, you should be putting my name on the scoreboard, bringing in some former players or vets or something and making me want to come here. Do you guys feel like that's true?
Yeah, if you're Shohei Ohtani, if you're Max Muncy, if you're Aaron Judge, but if you're AJ Pierzynski and Eric Kratz, guess what you get? You get the other version of it, and you're like, just happy a team called.
Mm-hmm. They're calling to tell you about your sprint speed at 38?
Yes, no, they're not doing that. Max, will you watch the games? Have you watched the games?
We sit down at night and we watch the games. It's tough for me, but I also love baseball. I'm kind of a baseball junkie, so getting to watch some playoff games, it's not really. I mean, there's only one thing really better than watching the game, that's playing the game. But since I don't get that option anymore because we didn't do our job, I'm going to enjoy them the best I can.
Do you root for a team, or do you root against like the Diamondbacks because they're in your division?
I think there's only really one team out there we're rooting against, and I don't need to say it. You guys know it.
The Diamond? No way.
No.
Astros?
No.
I know.
Come on.
I played for the Giants. I get it.
Last one from me. Definitely wanted to get your take on Bryce Harper versus Orlando Arcia versus the media. And did you like how Bryce reacted to that? But also, I think this is important on this show because we bring on writers too. We've voiced how we feel. We've got the mix too, right? Like these dudes are kind of obviously former player, but also they know the media life. I mean, you've been around the clubhouse for a long time and in the playoffs. If you yelled something out over and over and there's tons of people in there, isn't that fair game?
Yeah. So that's the thing is in the postseason, there's really only media availability after the game. If they want you before the game, you usually go to like the interview room or something like that. And it's not like it's just your usual beat writers in there. For us in LA, we have a lot, obviously, but instead of having, let's just throw some numbers out there. Instead of having your normal 10 writers, you're going to have close to 50, maybe 60 writers in there, media, bloggers, YouTubers. local networks. They're all going to be in there that they're not in there during the regular season. So if you are going to say something, especially in the postseason, you got to be careful about that. You know, I also understand, and I also completely agree that the locker room is our space, and we should be able to say what we want in there. But when you have all those guys in there, they're gonna, if they hear something, they're gonna put it out there. Yeah, it's just, and on top of that, you have 30 minutes before the media gets in there. Why are you still saying it at that point? You know, it's that to me was where I was kind of like, hey, you have 30 minutes to celebrate with your team before the media is even in there. So if you're still saying something, you're kind of beating a dead horse at that point.
I agree. He knew. Listen, and we just talked about it with Jace Peterson. The media, your media person comes to you and says, the media is coming in 2 minutes, guys. Get dressed. They're going to be in here for 15 minutes. Get out what you need to get out. Boom, the doors are open. They're like, okay, we're opening the doors to the media. Everyone shut up. Turn the music off. And then everyone comes in, and everyone does their little boop, 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 and then they walk out. So if you said it when they're in there, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I also agree. The clubhouse is our space. We should be able to say what we want in there. But in this instance, just for me personally, in this instance, uh, like I already said, they have a certain amount of time that they're in there after the game, and it's like 30 minutes after the game ends. 25, 30 minutes after the game ends. And like you said, they announce it. Like for us, if we win a game, we have the lights off, we have the music going, we have the strobe lights in there. When the media comes in, all that shuts off, the lights turn on, the music's off, so immediately, oh, okay, we got to be careful now. Like so if you were still saying it, you were trying to get it out there.
Right, exactly. And my thing is, I mean, to say, oh, now, if you're, say, a player in Atlanta, like Darno's like, oh, now we're going to be careful or might not want to talk to media. I'm like, I mean, the part that bothers me, I'm not even talking about the media side. My number one thought process is our game should be publicized more, cooler, more access, whatever. This is a way to do that. Like if we don't have players talking to media, sure, we can say, oh, players just have their own social media. That's not how it works. And players don't want to go on their own social media all day and be like, go live on their own social. Hey guys, here's my post-game report. I wasn't good today. Like that's ridiculous. Like I'm just trying to figure out I don't think there needs to be a solution, but what does, if a player is on the other side of this argument, because there are some, what do they want? Like some players like, oh, we shouldn't, have to talk. Like, well, plenty don't. I mean, I've been in there many times, and some guys just disappear for that 30-minute period.
Yeah, man, it is an easy solution. You just you go in there and you're getting treatment done, or you're eating your food, or you just don't be in that area. And now this is all post game that I'm talking about, especially in the playoffs. Pre-game, that's a different story. I could be convinced the other way for sure. There's nothing. There's nothing like when you're in the clubhouse trying to hang out with the guys, and the media's in there for 30 minutes to an hour just staring at you, not saying anything. That's a different story. But the post game, they're in and out pretty quick. So that's two different stories for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say, because we had Jace Peterson on just before we were talking about this, because he was like, I think the media should be in there for less time. And I actually liked your negotiation back. Cool. So for the postseason, instead of like 30 minutes, we can make it 15-ish if everyone is standing at their locker. Because I promise, sure, are there maybe a few people lurking or whatever, but for the most part, people are standing in there. They're waiting for the right guys to talk to. And once they talk to them, they're good. I mean, I've been in there plenty of times where they're like, okay, these were the 5 key players in that game. Once they all spoke, if they came out, they're good. Usually they're waiting for like one dude that doesn't come. And so they're just standing there like idiots.
Dude, nothing's more awkward for me.
I fucking hate it too.
Listen, as a former player,
stand in there.
And I stand in there and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing for me. Like, and because with Fox, I've told this story, we get 15 minutes just us. So it's just me and whoever Adam Amin and our producer. And I'm standing in the clubhouse. And I think last year in San Diego, we had you guys, and Doc was late for his meeting with us, his manager meeting. And he was like, and we're just standing in the clubhouse. And I'm like, I need to go somewhere because these guys are all playing Golden Tee, right? And I'm just like, where can I go hide?
Sometimes they let you go in the office to wait.
Yeah, but Doc was in the office, so there was nowhere for me to go. I can't. And San Diego's clubhouse is small, so I can't go in the training room and I can't go in the food room. there's like one little hallway you can go in, and his Doc's office at the end. You're standing in the locker room. You're just like, okay, this fucking sucks, dude. Like, how do I get out of here? And I'm not even there to talk to anybody, but we can't walk out because if we walk out, Doc might come out and say, hey, I want you guys right now. So it's like, it's the most awkward time. And even like this year, we're in the Astros clubhouse or the Twins clubhouse, and I'm standing there and I'm like, all right, is this time up yet? Like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, this is so weird. Try not to look at the TVs. Try not to like look at anybody, what they're doing.
AJ's
like,
a meat gazer.
No,
Yeah.
Dude, there was one manager, you know.
Yeah, I would say it is a little awkward, you know, especially if like you know, hey, talk to someone after the game. You get upstairs a little late. You get in the shower. You come back. You're in your towel, and there's 30 media people around your locker waiting for you, and so you got to sneak through them, and then you got to get changed while they're all staring at you. It's a little weird sometimes.
That's AJ's favorite part.
And they also,
why do you think I played for so long, Kratzy?
Yep.
But they want to speed up the process too, where they're like, yo, you get shower change, whatever, especially in the playoffs. Like, you want to get home, you talk to the media for a few minutes, and then you leave for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Probably have a game the next day.
Max is out there passing beers out. I don't think he's just passing beers out on the losses. If you're a guy that goes and gets beers, you're passing them out. They just take a little bit of time to.
Yeah, he's done that before.
Yeah.
No, on wins, we're doing tequila.
Oh,
let's go.
Tequila
like
makes
it.
clothes fall off.
I like that.
Jeez,
Yeah,
what's up with you and the
Oh,
clothes falling off?
It's a song.
Yeah, on the wins, we're doing tequila. But you gotta. That was something we started this year, and Miggy Rowe brought it over, and I really loved it because he came from a team that hadn't won a whole lot, and I've obviously been here for a long time, and we're used to winning, and for him, he brought up the idea that hey, you gotta celebrate the wins.
Yep.
Winning in this game is really hard. You got to celebrate your wins. You can't just go. You obviously want to act like it's a. Hey, you've been there, done that. But at the same time, like winning in this game is really hard. So you want to celebrate it. And so he came up with that idea, and it kind of really took off for us because when he brought up the idea, we weren't playing that great. This was like late May, maybe. We were kind of right at 500, not playing real great. And then after we had that idea, we kind of just took off. We started playing really well, and we started. That's when we started having a whole lot of fun. Yeah, you got to celebrate the wins. You got to celebrate the good things in this game because it's hard to accomplish them.
No, I love that. I know the Rays did that this year too. Remember, Brandon Lau told us they would do it differently. They would have like a player of the game would have to rip a shot in front of the team or something. I love that stuff.
Whatever brings you guys together.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Well, Max, appreciate the time, man. Obviously, not just now, but the entire season. It's been really fun chatting with you. Obviously, we'll chat at times during the off season too. So enjoy some fam time, and we'll catch you again soon.
All right, guys. Sounds good.
Get on that honeydew list. I know it's long.
Ooh.